3-0 one night. Blue Jays score a touchdown. 2 touchdowns exact. The next night. Free baseball, anybody? Blue Jays game recap. Blue Jays Friday baseball on Sports for Beginners. And another special season edition of Blue Jays game recap starts right now. My name is Scott McGregor. This is episode 13 of season 4. Let's get it on. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. In the words of Steve Dangle, not to steal any words from Steve, but in the words of Steve Dangle, in my own words, Blue Jays, the San Diego Padres, 3-0. They are a game above 500 out of this series at 25-24, going into a road trip series against Tampa Bay, who are 23-26. The San Diego Padres, meanwhile, are 27-21 at the end of this series. They came in to this series at a record of 27-18. The Toronto Blue Jays came in at a record of 22-24. Welcome in, Blue Jay fans. Welcome in, San Diego Padre fans. My name is Scott McGregor. Welcome to another edition of Blue Jays Friday Baseball on Sports for Beginners. Another Blue Jays game recap bites the dust. And wouldn't you know it, in 2 season episodes, episode 12 and episode 13 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners, we cover pretty much the entire homestand. Of course, we did a Victoria Day Double Trouble, which included our episode supposed to drop on the 16th, which was the start of the Tigers series. That actually dropped along with the Tigers series recap on May the 19th. Actually, it dropped on Tuesday, May the 20th, 2025. Maybe it didn't drop on... No, yeah, it didn't drop on Monday. It actually, both of those shows dropped on Tuesday. You know what? Regardless, that was when the Blue Jays would defeat the San Diego Padres 3-0. By the way, 2 of the Blue Jays' hits left the yard to make up the final score of Game 1, which would improve the record of the Blue Jays from 22-24 to 23-24. Where are my manners? We lead off with how things started, but we forgot to go over the coaching. Our coaches for this matchup, John Schneider and Mike Shellid. I'll go with Mike S. Mike, if I pronounced this wrong, I apologize. Same thing to players and, of course, umpires as well on either side. Speaking of which, now that the managers are out of the way, Mike S. and John Schneider, your managers for this matchup. Your starters were Dylan Cease against Chris Bassett in game number 1. Both pitchers put on a heck of a performance, but the Blue Jays win the game with runs. They won with 3 runs. More on that in our line score in just a second. Continuing on our meeting on the mound, our next meeting on the mound would feature Kevin Gausman against Randy Vasquez. Is that right? Yeah, Randy Vasquez. There we go. Randy Vasquez against Kevin Gausman. Chris Bassett went against Dylan Cease in game number 1. Game number 2, it was Gausman versus Vasquez. And last but certainly not least, this game, which was today, it was Fisher and Estrada with the win and the loss. But the starters were Bowden Francis and Stephen Kolek. Stephen, if I pronounce the last name wrong, I'll go with Stephen K, just in case I did pronounce that wrong. And I apologize in advance if I did. All right, moving on from the meeting on the mound, it is time now for the line score. We'll begin with today's game, as that is where we are going to start. And normally we start with game number 1, but let's go ahead and go down the game that we started with, or I should say that finished off this series and actually played out today. It was a school day at Rogers Center. Schools showed their school spirit, and the Blue Jays and the Padres go into extra innings to kick things off here on account of 7 runs on 12 hits. No home runs for the Blue Jays in this one. 15 total bases. They left 15 men on base, grabbed 1 stolen base, and no errors. For the San Diego Padres, this was game number 3, which was today, was not the first game of the series. The Padres with 6 runs on 8 hits, 2 home runs, both by Gavin Sheets, 15 total bases. They left 6 men on, did not steal a base, and also ended the game with an error. To game 2 we go, and this is where the Blue Jays scored a touchdown. 2 touchdowns, actually. And yeah, the Padres, they didn't have any runs here. But here's your line score via the team comparison. We'll start with the Padres. No runs on 5 hits. No home runs, 9 total bases, no stolen bases, 6 men left on, and 4 errors. For the Blue Jays, 14 runs on 14 hits, 2 home runs, 23 total bases, 1 stolen base, 8 men left on base, and 1 error. In game number 1, for the Blue Jays, 3 runs on 3 hits, no errors. They hit 2 home runs, had 9 total bases, and 1 stolen base. They also left only 1 man on base. For the Padres, no runs on 5 hits, no home runs, 6 total bases, no stolen bases, 5 men left on base, and 0 errors, no errors. So in 2 games, the Blue Jays escape a game without an error. In only 1 game, the Mariners had no errors. They picked up 1 error in today's game, which was a final of 7-6. In 11 innings. In game number 2 of this series, which was the day before, that was yesterday, the Blue Jays defeated the Padres 14-0 to get back to 500 and improve their record from 23-24 to 24-24. At this time, the record going into game 2 was 27-19. It became 27-20 going into game number 3 today. Speaking of game number 1, the record was 27-18 for the Padres coming in, 22-24 for the Blue Jays coming in. That record moved to 23-24 for the Jays, and 27-19 for the Padres. Blue Jays winning that one 3-0. When we return, we'll do the same thing we did with the line score, and all credit going to Sportsnet here, but I hasten to take you down memory lane. I really do. In case you missed it, actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and find the game where that happened. I'm going to go ahead and find that game where it happened. But it felt like to me, Joe Siddall and Jamie Campbell, who were doing the Blue Jays Central, it felt like to me on hot dog day at the ballpark, it felt to me like the Blue Jays just got 3 runs on account of just 2 home runs. And that's exactly what it was. I don't know if Joe or Jamie, and shout out to the guys there, Joe and Jamie, I don't know if you guys lost your mind doing that recap of a 3-0, but I guarantee you, the game where the Blue Jays knocked off the Padres 4-0, you might have lost your mind. I don't know. I mean, to me, I almost lost my mind thinking about it. The game between the Boston Red Sox, I should say, and Baltimore Orioles, that is going to be a double header tomorrow or today, depending on when you're catching this. You might be catching this on a Friday. But That game, as of today's recording, Thursday, May 22nd, 2025, was postponed. And right now, the Milwaukee Brewers and the Pittsburgh Pirates are delayed. Milwaukee is leading 5-3 as we speak. When we return on episode 12, I should say 13, of season 4, how did the games end up the way they did? How did the Blue Jays knock off the Padres 3-0 one night, 14-0 the next night, and then have to sweat to win the game today, 7-6? We'll start with game 3, move our way over to game 2, and then move our way to game number 3 when episode 13 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners, another Blue Jays game recap show, how these games panned out from today, last night, and the night before. Plus, where do the Padres and the Blue Jays stand going in to play tomorrow? Where are their standings as we speak? You'll find that all out coming up next. But that'll do it for our leadoff segment. We let off with the managers. Of course, I kind of teased what the final scores were early on. And of course, we did our meeting on the mound. And I also teased, we're actually going to send a link here to that video. We're going to send a link to that video, of which I want to play for you, with Jamie and Joe explaining the 2 home runs in the Blue Jays 3-0. Yes, you heard me. 3-0. Yeah, you heard me. 3-0 win. Wow. I mean, holy crow. Holy moly, I should say. Holy crow is a bit of an understatement. Holy moly. That was very interesting on Wednesday night, and it was a really, really interesting game. I won't say questionable, but it was a really great game. I almost thought that game was going to go in San Diego's favor. Well, at least today's game I thought would go in San Diego's favor. It did not, and I'm thankful that it didn't. But you know what? It is what it is. All right, let's get to our break. We'll be back in a moment.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment. Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bill, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, 2 powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Blue Jays sweep the San Diego Padres 3-0, beating the Padres 3-0 on Tuesday night, beating the Padres Wednesday night 14-0, and earlier today, they beat the Padres in 11 innings 7-0, 7-6, I should say. Make sure I get that right, 7-6. There we go. That is where we are going to start, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. My name is Scott McGregor. Welcome back into episode 13 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners. Another Blue Jays game recap show. on our season. Special announcement coming later in our show regarding episode 14 of season 4. As you all may know, the NFL schedule dropped on May the 14th. We will be bringing you an update on the NFL on our program. We will be giving you an update on our NFL content, which will return in a special season episode of Sports for Beginners next week, ahead of the Blue Jays' next homestand. So that will be this upcoming Friday, not tomorrow, the upcoming Friday, which is May the 30th, 2025. That actually will be recorded ahead of the Athletics series and most likely drop on the day of Game 2 of a 4-game set between the Athletics and the Blue Jays. Hope to talk to you then about that one. We also have our end of the month May weekly in sports program. We will be getting that ready for you this week. But enough about that. Let's continue on talking about today's topic of conversation on our season shows. Kicking things off with the game that went down today. We'll get to game 1 and game 2 in just a moment or so, but let's get into this. It all began with Gavin Sheets. A 2-run shot scores Jackson Morrell. And for the first time in this series, the San Diego Padres have scored a run or two. They scored 2 on a Gavin Sheets home run, his 7th home run of the season. And yeah, by the way, this game needed extra innings, so this is where it all began. Cut to the bottom of the 3rd inning. A fielder's choice by Dalton Varsho scores Tyler Heineman. Bo Bichette goes to 3rd on this play in the bottom of the 3rd. Varsho will advance on the first baseman error, fielding error by first baseman Gavin Sheets, the guy who opened up the scoring, by the way. He moves over, so Varsho will go to 2nd on the play. 2-1 San Diego. This will become 2-2 as Addison Barger, a short time later, singles on a sharp line drive to left field. Bo Bichette scores on the plate. Dalton Varsho moves up further now to 3rd base on the play. And the game is tied. Bottom of the 4th we go. Bo Bichette, big single by Bo, puts the Blue Jays in front. 3-2. I was going to say 3-0, but no, it's 3-2. Later in the inning, a sacrifice fly by Dalton Varsho scores Tyler Heineman. He and Heineman connect again to score a run, and it's now 4-2 Toronto. Keep fast forwarding, because this game goes into extras after Gavin Sheets strikes again, his 2nd home run of the ball game, and it's his 8th of the season. His 7th of the season came early on the 2-run shot in the top of the 2nd inning. Blue Jays score 2 runs in the bottom of the 3rd and, of course, the bottom of the 4th. Top of the 9th, we're tied at 4. Gavin Sheets, his 8th home run of the season. Jackson and him combine again. So it was a home run for Gavin Sheets, his 7th home run of the season in the top of the 2nd inning. And in the top of the 9th, he does so again. His 8th home run of the season. 2nd of the ball game. We're tied at 4. On to extras we go. Free baseball, anybody? Sign me up. In the top of the 10th inning, Luis Arraez picks up a single to score Jose Iglesias. San Diego in the lead, 5-4. John Cleese says, "Not in my house, you don't." And he scores Nathan Lukes to make it 5-5. Toronto and San Diego tied at 5. We go to the 11th, and in the 11th, Gavin Sheets, 2 home runs already. Might as well add a single to his day. This single, by the way, scores Manny Machado, the former Oriole. It is 6-5. San Diego back in front. To the bottom of the 11th we go. His first triple of the year, Dalton Varsho scores the game-tying run on a triple, his first of the year. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. scores the run. We're tied again. 6-6, still in the 11th. Still bottom of the 11th. Nathan Lukes at the dish. Ground ball left field. Dalton's coming home and he will score. It is 7-6. The Blue Jays will walk it off on a Nathan Lukes single. Addison Barger to second base, but they all run and grant Nathan Lukes right at first base. He walks it off, and the Blue Jays knock off the Padres 7-6 in game number 3, which also meant they sweep the series with the Padres. Now let's get to some fun parts. Speaking of getting to fun parts, we're going to get to game 1 in a second, but my golly, I'm still starstruck after that game on Wednesday night. Look at this. Nathan Lukes, home run, bottom of the 5th. That's what got things started in the game on Wednesday night. His 4th home run of the season. Bottom of the 7th. This is where 5 runs would come across the plate for the Blue Jays. Of their 14 hits, 5 runs in the bottom of the 7th would come through here. The first was a force out from Bo Bichette. Addison Barger scores. Ernie Clement going to third. Nathan Lukes called out at second base, or I should say ruled out at second base. Bo does reach first base on the play. It is 3-0 Toronto. And again, this is the line now from game number 2. We went over the line from game number 1 earlier. Still in the bottom of the 7th, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. picks up a single, scores Ernie Clement. Bo Bichette will go to second base. 4-0 Toronto. The onslaught would continue. Still in the 7th inning, George Springer with a nice single here. Is that a single? Maybe it was. Maybe it's not. Let's see. Yes, it was a George Springer single. Ground ball into third base. Bo Bichette scores. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. goes to second on the throwing error by Manny Machado. And then touchdown Toronto. Jonathan Clase, his second double of the year, scores Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and George Springer. Alejandro Kirk will move up to third base on the play. It is 7-0 Toronto. Bottom of the 8th we go. Blue Jays still shutting down the Padres in this one. And in the bottom of the 8th, the onslaught continues. Bo Bichette, single, line drive to center field. Ernie Clement scores on Bo's hit. Nathan Lukes going to second base. It's 8-0 Toronto. Bases juiced. 7th home run of the year for Dalton Varsho. A grand slam makes it 12-0 Toronto. 12-0 Toronto. Nathan Lukes, Bo Bichette, and Michael Stefanik score on the play. It's now 12-0 Toronto. Still in the inning. Still in the 8th inning now. Addison Barger doubles and scores George Springer. It's 13-0 Toronto. Then Ernie Clement seals the deal. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, pretty much for me. I guess you could say. The home run by Dalton Varsho sealed the deal in this one. But Ernie Clement singles on a line drive into left field. Jason Hayward. Jonathan Clase will score on the. Jonathan Clase, I should say, scores on the play. Addison Barger the third. It is 14-0 Toronto, and that is where the game would end. 14-0 was your final score in game number 2. Game number 1. Well, in football terms, no runs were scored in game 2 for San Diego, and no runs were scored in game 1 for San Diego. They score 6 runs in game 3, but they fall short 7-6 in game 3 to Toronto. Here's how things go down in game number 1. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. gets things started with a home run, his 6th home run of the year. A solo shot, the Blue Jays lead 1-0. Fast forward to the bottom of the 5th, Anthony Santander. Speaking of 6th home run of the season, He has his 6th home run of the year. It's a 2-run shot. Alejandro Kirk scores on the play. And that's all the Blue Jays needed. 2 home runs from Anthony Santander and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. win the ball game 3-0, 14-0, and then of course today's final. The Padres made the Blue Jays sweat in this one, but the Blue Jays come out on top 7-6. All right, we're going to take a look at our pitching line coming up next on this episode of Blue Jays game recap for Sports for Beginners, which is episode 13 of season 4. Our NFL update about our 14th episode of the program of season 4 of our Sports for Beginners program. That comes your way following our pitching line, and we got players of the series to get to. We also want to set up Rays, Blue Jays, and of course, who the Padres will face next. And that right now is, as we are speaking to you, that is the Atlanta Braves. We will set that up for you, not so much as the pitching matchup, but we will set that up for you. Taking a look at the other 2 series coming up following that, but make sure you stay with us for it all. It's all still coming here on this episode of Sports for Beginners, 13 of season 4. The pitching line from one of the 3 games is next. Players of the series is next. We'll get to the standings off the top of this commercial break. Maybe take a look around the league at the games going on right now. Again, in case you missed it earlier, the Red Sox and the Orioles are going to play a doubleheader tomorrow, but they were rained out today. So we'll take a look at the finals and games going on right now when we return to Blue Jays game recap on episode 13 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners. Stay right with us. More Blue Jays baseball on episode 13 of season 4 in just a moment.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Thank you very much, Ali, and welcome back into episode 13 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners, the Blue Jays baseball season episode of the show. Our football update of the program coming up in one segment time after this next commercial break. But with the scoring of Game 1, Game 2, and of course Game 3, the final scores in case you missed it, 7-6, Toronto on Thursday. We're now recording the last little bit of this on the day of the show's launch, which is Friday, May the 23rd, 2025. Blue Jays beat the Padres 7-6 in extra innings. in 11 innings. They scored 2 touchdowns on Wednesday, the second game of this series. The first game of this series was a field goal game in terms of football. Blue Jays scored 3 runs. The Padres only score 6 runs in this series, but they allow more than they score. They lost 14-0 on Wednesday and 3-0 on Tuesday. Forced extra innings in game number 3 on Thursday when we started our recording last night of this show. But the Blue Jays come out on top 7-6. Time now for the pitching line, and the pitching line is actually going to come from game number 3, which was on Thursday. Of course, we saw the starters on the mound. We saw Bowden Francis and Stephen K pitch in this game. We'll start with Toronto, and Bowden Francis went 4 innings, giving up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, walked 3 Padres, K'd 4 of them, and did give up one home run. That was the home run given up to Gavin Sheets in the top of the second inning. Bowden's ERA coming out of the game, 5.54. Next up to pitch would be Yariel Rodriguez, who would pitch through the 5th inning, but be pulled in the 6th inning after getting 1 out. He did not give up a hit, a run, did not walk a batter, and did not give up a home run. He struck out 3 Padres for an ERA of 3.20. Mason Fluharte, ERA 2.25 at the end of the game, finishes off the 6th and also goes into the 7th inning. He would not pitch, well actually he did get into the 8th inning I believe, but he did not pitch a full 8th inning. Strikeouts, only 1 strikeout in this inning of work for Mason Fluharte. Bring on Chad Green, who will go 2/3, gives up 1 hit in the game, an ERA of 3.38. Next to pitch would be Jimmy Garcia. He picks up a hit given up, no strikeouts or anything else of that nature. ERA of 3.15. And Jeff Hoffman would have been needed to just close this game out when it was 4-2 Toronto, but Gavin Sheets strikes again, and even though Jeff Hoffman went an inning, he gives up a hit, a home run, 2 earned runs as a result. 1 walk batter, does strike out 2 Padres, and his ERA is 6.04. Brandon Little, the next to pitch, goes an inning and 2/3, gives up 2 hits, 2 runs, no earned, no batters walked, 1 strikeout, an ERA of 1.50. No ERA for Braden Fisher, but he goes 1/3, and nothing really to show for him. To the Padres we go. They started with Stephen Kolek. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Again, if I pronounced it wrong, we're going to go with Stephen K, just in case. 6 innings of work, 7 hits given up, 4 runs given up, 3 earned, 3 walk batters, 6 strikeouts for him, an ERA of 2.84. Next up, to pitch for San Diego, Yuki Matsui. He is the next to pitch, goes an inning, gives up 1 hit, nothing more. 25 is the ERA for him. 84 for Stephen K. Next to pitch is Reynolds for the Padres. The next to pitch is Sean Reynolds. An inning, walked 1 batter, an ERA of 6.43, no hits, no runs given up. Next up it's Adams' turn. It's Jason Adams' turn. Jason Adams into the game, goes an inning, walks 2 Blue Jays. ERA of 1.48. The ERA for Sean Reynolds is 6.43. Pitchers galore. The next to pitch would be Robert Suarez. An inning of work, 2 hits given up, a run given up, a strikeout, an ERA of 2.70. And then it will be Estrada, not Marco Estrada first and foremost. Not Marco Estrada. Jeremiah Estrada, who would go 1/3 of an inning, gives up 2 hits, 2 runs, 1 earned run, 1 batter walk, ERA of 2.86. There's a lot that I could say about this series. Let's talk about that before we get to players of the series, which are going to be coming from game number 3 for San Diego, and one of the games, the Blue Jays put on an absolute show. First of all, let me do some thoughts. That was much better. Thursday was much better for San Diego than the first 2 performances they had Tuesday night and Wednesday night. How do you lose 14-0 to a team that's not even in your division? That's right. They are not even in your division. And speaking of division, let's take a look at our standings. How do you lose 14-0 to a team not even in your division? Not even in your division. Not even in there. How do you lose? How do you lose? How do you lose 14-0 one night? Losing 3-0 I can understand. But losing 14-0 against a team not even in your conference. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's rough. Give credit to my dad for this. He was saying that the Padres probably had a meeting on Wednesday night after the game, and everybody was huddled in and was trying to figure out what was going wrong. Like, what was going wrong? Oh, and by the way, they dropped the ball quite a couple of times in that game, and you can't do that. The old saying in sports is, you cannot win if you cannot score. And at least for Tuesday and Wednesday, the Padres could not score. And you can't win if you can't score. But you also cannot win if you can't hit. And the Padres did show that they can hit despite no runs on the board Tuesday and Wednesday night on May 20th and May 21st. Thursday afternoon, it was a school day game in which the Blue Jays won 7-6. The Padres finally show they can score runs. And again, after this series, the record for San Diego and the record for Toronto, the record for the Blue Jays is 25-24, I should say. And it is 27-21 for the Padres. All right. Speaking of the standings, though, right now the Blue Jays are a game above 500 and second place in the American League East, behind the New York Yankees by 5 games. But in the wild card, it's kind of early to be thinking about the wild card, but they are 2 games back of the wild card. The Yankees, meanwhile, are 30-19. Boston and Baltimore play a doubleheader tonight, I should say today, as now we are playing the rest of this show on the Friday, the day the show drops. Baltimore's record is 16-32. Boston's record is 25-26. Doubleheaders can go in splits, and I would be happy if that happens between Boston and Baltimore. Meanwhile, the Blue Jays will begin a series with the Rays, and the Rays are 23-26. Over in the NL West, where the San Diego Padres are, the Los Angeles Dodgers lead that division 31-19. San Francisco Giants are not far behind at 29-21. The San Diego Padres are 27-21 coming out of the series with the Blue Jays. And the Colorado Rockies remain 8-42 at the bottom of the list in the NL West. The Arizona Diamondbacks are 26-24 and just 2 games out of the wild card right now. The Padres will face a Braves team that is in their league but not in their division, and that team sits at a record of 24-25. 7.5 games back of the division, 3.5 games back of the wild card. The other teams in that division, the NL East, are Philadelphia leading that division at 32-18. The New York Mets are 30-20. 2 games on top of the wild card. 2 games on top of the wild card and 2 games back of the division leading Philadelphia Phillies. Below Atlanta, you got the Washington Nationals at 23-27. And 19 and 29 are the Miami Marlins. All right. That's just a little bit of the standings as they stand right now. Again, it's Mike Shildit against John Schneider. In this series between the Padres and the Blue Jays, Blue Jays sweep the Padres 3-0, winning 7-6 yesterday, 14-0 Wednesday night, and 3-0 on Tuesday night. All right. We are going to take a quick 30-second timeout. When we get back with last call, it is time for players of the series. We forgot to do players of the series in this end, but we'll do that after our 30-second timeout. Get to our episode 14 special announcement of season 4, and then it'll be time to send you home and get you ready for those matchups against Atlanta, and of course for the Blue Jays against the Tampa Bay Rays and Kevin Cash. Reminder of the last series the Rays and the Blue Jays played. The Rays took 2 out of 3, and the Blue Jays took 1 out of 3. They also took 1 out of 3 against Detroit, who took 2 out of 3. The next homestand for the Blue Jays is the Athletics, but who's next? And who do they start a series with today? Find out on Last Call in about 30 seconds from now. Episode 13 of Season 4, another Blue Jays baseball edition, wraps up in 30 seconds. Right after this, from our good friends over at Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter one song at a time.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
All right, welcome back to episode 13 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners, our Blue Jays game recap. Blue Jays and the Padres. Blue Jays winning that series 3-0. They beat the Padres 3-0 on Tuesday night. They beat the Padres 14-0 Wednesday evening at Rogers Center. And then just yesterday, they defeated the Padres 7-6 in extra innings at Rogers Center to cap off a 9-game homestand in which they took 1 out of 3 against the Tigers and 1 out of 3 against the team they are going to battle with right now, which is the Tampa Bay Rays. Meanwhile, the San Diego Padres are going to battle with the Atlanta Braves. Both series started today at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time, and of course 7:05 p.m. Eastern. Both series are underway as we speak. Players of the series for San Diego and Toronto coming up in just a moment, but as we entered play today, on this day the show gets released, it most likely might end up released on a Saturday. We don't know. We shall see. But it's supposed to be released today. I am, of course, your host, Scott McGregor. The Blue Jays are 25-24 going into that series against Tampa Bay. The Rays are 23-26 going into the series against Toronto. The Red Sox were 25-26, but they have recently played game 1 of a doubleheader that has been postponed to tomorrow. They will play game number 2 tomorrow as part of another doubleheader. On the weekend, on Saturday, they will play another doubleheader against the Baltimore Orioles. The makeup of May 23rd, which is today, will happen tomorrow you just never know with the weather. Things were fine for game 1, which Boston ended up winning 19-5, I should say. And with that, their record is now 26-26. They are at 500. Baltimore's record is at 16-33. They were 16-32 going in to the series. And the New York Yankees right now, among other games going on right now as we speak, including the games we were going to get you set for, the New York Yankees are 30-19. The San Diego Padres are, as we speak, 27-21. The Atlanta Braves are 24-25 as we speak. All right, players of the series. Well, first our players of the series, first of all, from game number 3 for San Diego. They are Gavin Sheets and Jackson Morrell. Those were the two men who score a couple of the runs, including the game-tying home run in the top of the 9th inning, to make this score 4-4 heading into extra innings. It would end up being 7-6 at the end of the game. And of course, this is for Thursday, May 22nd, 2025's final score in extra innings. All things considered, on the Blue Jays side of things, we flash you back to game number 3. And even if we don't do the top performers of the game, I think we did that in one of our segments here. If we didn't do that, that's all right. We'll try to get to that as many times as we can. But here's the main reason. Here's a big reason why these two players are the players of the series for Toronto. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Anthony Santander. We will have a link to the video, and of course, we're going to play the audio just for you, just for the sake of doing it. Audio, by the way, goes to Sportsnet and Rogers, and of course, the Blue Jays and the Padres and the MLB. No copyright is intended. After this minute and 20 second, we are going to jump in to next time on Sports for Beginners, as we have a special episode 14 announcement for you of season 4. That's coming your way in about a minute and 20 seconds. And of course, we would like to let you know that's going to be a very interesting episode. We're going to let you know a lot in that moment of time. Also, later on after that announcement, we will bring you when there's the next Blue Jays game recap. When, of course, will be our next episode of Weekly in Sports. All of that coming up in just a moment. First, let's send you to Jamie and Joe as they described why the Blue Jays' 3-hit performance on Tuesday night, May 21st, 2025. No, May 20th, 2025, I should say. That was the Tuesday. That was a Wednesday for that game with San Diego. The game of the 3-hit performance was Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Here's Jamie and Joe with why the Blue Jays' 3-hit performance was significant versus Padres.
It's who hit them. Exactly. The Blue Jays are going to need Anthony Santander baseballs out of parks for this lineup to get firing on all cylinders. This was a great indication from Vladdy early in the ballgame. He spent all weekend facing Detroit Tigers pitching that peppered him with high-velocity fastballs, and they were beating him all weekend. It wasn't going to happen here, and he got on it early. And then Anthony Santander, a nice swing here. Really a tighter type swing to get to this hanging slider by Dylan Cease. He did not hang many sliders in this ball game, but he made him pay when he did. 2 big home runs by 2 very important power hitters in this Blue Jays lineup. Good way to start the series, and now game 2 comes your way Wednesday night on Sportsnet 1. Blue Jays Central at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, as Kevin Gosman takes the hill for the homestand.
Thank you, Jamie and Joe. And of course, that was to let everyone know what time Blue Jay Central was for Wednesday's game on May 21st, 2025, as Kevin Gosman and Randy Vasquez took the hill. And that actually was the same time that you could catch Blue Jay Central ahead of Tampa Bay versus Toronto in game number 1. Fun fact, that's actually the same timeline you can catch Blue Jays Central on Saturday at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, 5:30 Central in the PM. So that's in the evening. 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 p.m. Central is when things get started on Blue Jays Central. Blue Jays currently trail the team that we are setting you up for 2-0. And speaking of that, we'll get back to baseball in just a moment. But huddle up, huddle up, huddle up, huddle up, huddle up, huddle up, football fans, huddle up, sports fans. The time has come on Sports for Beginners next week, next Friday. Of course, we'll record this ahead of the second game of the 4-game series set between the Toronto Blue Jays and the Athletics, formerly known to the world as the Oakland Athletics, on May 30th. Episode 14 of Season 4 goes live on the show, but we may record it on Thursday. Maybe we'll record it on Wednesday, but regardless, it'll drop Friday ahead of Game 2 between the Athletics and the Blue Jays in a 4-game set. We will see when we can record it for you. No Blue Jays game recap after the Texas Rangers series because we're moving things around with Weekly in Sports. But our next Blue Jays game recap comes your way Monday, May the 26th, 2025, when the Blue Jays have wrapped up their series with the Tampa Bay Rays, which is currently going on right now. Speaking of that, the Atlanta Braves and the San Diego Padres continue their series tomorrow and into Sunday when they battle in Atlanta. Their series right now is going on and in the bottom of the third. Meanwhile, the Blue Jays game is in the top of the 4th inning. 2-0 is the score of the Rays and Blue Jays game right now. And meanwhile, for the Padres, their matchup is in the bottom of the third, currently tied at 1 run apiece. All right. Blue Jays swept the San Diego Padres with a significant, thrilling win of 14-0 on Wednesday night. On Tuesday night, hot dog night at the park, they beat the Padres 3-0. The Padres made the Blue Jays sweat to get that third win, but they pick up a 7-6 win in 11 innings against the Padres to go a game above 500, which is where they sit right now. Alrighty. Up next for the Padres, after the Braves, they will take on the Miami Marlins for 3 games, get an off day on Thursday, taking on the Pirates beginning on the final Friday of the month, which is May 30th, 2025. That series will wrap up on June 1st. 4 games against the Giants in San Francisco follow later. Then you've got the Brewers for 3 on the weekend of the 6th to the 8th. All right, with that being said, and that's of June. With that being said, meanwhile, for the Blue Jays, they will play 3 against Texas following the Rays. We will set up the rest of that homestand for the Blue Jays, but the opener of the homestand is a 4-game set against the Athletics that begins Thursday night at Rogers Center on May 29th, 2025. City Connect Fridays follow on May 30th, 2025. And then calling all cricket fans, it's Cricket Day at the Park, a 3:07 p.m. Eastern Time first pitch on Saturday, May 31st, 2025. Wrap it up with the Athletics on Junior Jays Sunday, 1:37 p.m. Eastern, 12:37 p.m. Central, 11:37 a.m. Pacific. Maybe that's 10 a.m., but we'll see. Opening things up with the Phillies on Hot Dog Night on June 3rd, 2025. That ought to be a good one. But yeah, so you got Tampa Bay right now for the weekend, the Memorial Day weekend. Happy Memorial Day to all our American listeners. And, of course, anyone who celebrates Memorial Day. The Texas Rangers will see the Blue Jays for 3 after that series with the Rays wraps up. Then it's a 4-game set with the Athletics and a 3-game set with the Philadelphia Phillies. Then the Jays are back on the road. Of course, the off day on June 2nd, 2025. On the next episode of Weekly in Sports, we'll talk some baseball, we'll talk some hockey, mainly the Women's Hockey League. We'll see if we can get some WWE in there, but definitely shout-outs of the month are coming up on that show. If you have a podcast that you would like to give a shout-out to, let us know right now. Sports for Beginners Podcast 8231 at gmail.com, or hit us up on our Discord server with the name of the podcast you would like to shout out or the name of the host you would like to shout out, and we will be glad to do so. Privacy and your privacy and anything else, including the hosts, is our number one priority. So Blue Jays game recap will return on Monday, May the 26th, 2025. We'll see when we can get that recorded to you. Most likely it will drop on the Tuesday ahead of game 2 between the Rangers and the Blue Jays, but we will see. It will be a pre-recorded show. We will see where the tide stands there. No Texas Rangers Blue Jays game recap. It will be actually the Athletics up next after that, but that is because on Friday, May 30th, 2025, episode 14 of season number 4 of Sports for Beginners is all about football. When will you hear, before they kick off, when will you hear Dolphins postgame? How many times will you hear before they kick off? When can you hear Bills postgame? All programs that are postgame will also be available on the ice and behind the benches, including Dolphins postgame. You've got that one. You've got Bills postgame as well. Who knows? Maybe before they kick off, a Sports for Beginners program will air on the ice and behind the benches. All of that information coming your way on Friday next week. The show most likely could get recorded on Wednesday or Thursday. We will see. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Scott McGregor. Thank you so much for being with us. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. To our American listeners out there, enjoy the Memorial Day long weekend. Maybe catch a Disney film like, I don't know, Lilo and Stitch in live action, or any other film you would like. Maybe watch a throwback from the Lilo and Stitch Disney series. I'm always a sucker for some Lilo and Stitch throwback between Experiment 626 and Lilo, but it's really up to you. Again, happy Memorial Day to all our American listeners. Hope that you enjoy the weekend. And for our Blue Jay fans who are Canadian fans, most of you obviously are, we will see you after the Rays series for Blue Jays game recap, Blue Jays and the Rays. And for my football fans out there, Canadian, American, you name it, we got it. Join us next Friday, May 30th, 2025, for the NFL schedule release episode of Season 4. That's 14th episode of Season 4 of Sports for Beginners. And if you love listening to Weekly in Sports, we'll have another one of those for you as soon as we humanly can get it to you. If you have any questions or concerns about anything non-podcast related, let me know at the podcast email, and I will connect you with someone I know with non-podcast related stuff. With that being said, we will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231 at gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.